Okay, so picture this. You're 12 years old. You're about to become King of England. You're living in the Tower of London, which back in 1483 wasn't a prison yet. It was basically a medieval Four Seasons. And then one morning, you and your little brother just disappear forever. No goodbye, no grave, no TikTok announcement, nothing. 500 years later, people are still losing their minds trying to figure out what happened to you.
Wait, hold on. They just vanished? Like poof?
Poof.
From the Tower of London, which is basically medieval Alcatraz.
Well, it wasn't Alcatraz yet. That came later. But yes, two boys. Edward V, age 12. Richard, Duke of York, age 9. Gone. And their uncle Richard, who was supposed to be protecting them, suddenly becomes King Richard III.
Oh no. I know where this is going.
Do you?
The uncle did it. It's always the uncle.
Is it though?
Mike. The uncle becomes king right after the kids disappear? Come on. That's like if I babysat Dylan and Caroline and then suddenly I owned your house and your car and also I'm you now.
That's actually a disturbing analogy.
Thank you. I've been workshopping it.
You need better hobbies.
Anyway, yes, the uncle clearly did it. Case closed. What's next week's episode?
See, that's what everyone thinks. For 5 centuries, this has been one of the juiciest unsolved mysteries in English history. Did Richard III murder his nephews? Did someone else? Did they escape? Are we about to crack a medieval cold case on a podcast?
Spoiler alert, we're not.
Well, no, but we're going to spend 45 minutes trying.
And that's why people love us.
That's debatable, but okay. The Princes in the Tower. Let's start with the setup. It's June 1483. England just lost a king.
Edward IV, dead at 40.
Dead at 41, actually. April 9th, 1483. Probably from a stroke, maybe pneumonia, possibly too much wine and rich food because Edward IV was, how do I put this delicately?
Fat.
I was going to say enjoyed the finer things.
He was 6'4" and allegedly weighed over 250 pounds in the 1400s.
That's basically Chris Hemsworth after a medieval bulk.
If Chris Hemsworth ate nothing but roasted boar and drank wine for 20 years, yes.
Edward loved feasts. He loved women. He loved wine. He was living his best medieval life until his body said, actually, no, we're done here.
So he dies. And his oldest son is supposed to become king.
Right. Also named Edward because medieval people had zero creativity with names. Edward V, he's 12. His little brother Richard is 9. Their mother is Elizabeth Woodville, who is, and I'm putting this mildly not popular with the nobility.
Why not?
She was a commoner. Edward IV married her secretly. The nobles thought she was beneath him. Also, her family immediately started grabbing power and titles and acting like medieval Nepo babies.
Medieval Nepo babies?
The original Nepo babies, her relatives got dukedoms, church positions, land, money. The old nobility was furious.
Okay, so the king's widow is unpopular. Her kids are technically illegitimate in some people's eyes. And the king's brother is sitting there going, interesting situation.
His name is Richard. Richard, Duke of Gloucester, younger brother of Edward IV. And by all accounts, he was loyal, competent, disciplined. He fought battles for Edward, ran the north of England. Everyone trusted him.
Right up until he allegedly murdered 2 children.
We're getting there. So Edward IV dies. His will says Richard, Duke of Gloucester, should be Lord Protector, basically regent. He's supposed to protect young Edward V until the kid turns 18 and can rule on his own.
That sounds reasonable.
It is reasonable, except Elizabeth Woodville doesn't trust him. She knows her family's unpopular. She knows Richard has power, so she tries to get her son crowned immediately. Like before Richard can do anything.
I'm sensing this plan doesn't work.
It spectacularly doesn't work. She sends for young Edward, who's been living in Wales. Medieval princes didn't live with their parents. They had their own households. It was like boarding school, but with more swords.
That's depressing.
Welcome to royalty. Anyway, Elizabeth sends word bring Edward to London, crown him fast before Richard shows up. But Richard hears about it and he rides out to intercept young Edward on the road.
Oh, this is bad.
It gets worse. Richard meets them at a place called Stony Stratford. April 30th, 1483. He's very polite, very respectful. Says, hey, I'm your uncle. I'm Lord Protector. I'm here to escort you safely to London. And then he arrests Edward's escorts.
He what?
Arrest them. Specifically, the Woodville family members. Elizabeth's brother, Anthony Woodville. Her son, Richard Grey. just arrests them and sends them away.
And Edward is what, 12?
12 years old, watching his family get arrested by his uncle.
That's terrifying.
It is terrifying. And now Edward is in Richard's custody. They ride to London together. Edward is put in the Tower of London, which again at this point is a palace. It's where kings stayed before coronations. Everything seems fine.
Narrator voice, everything was not fine.
Meanwhile, Elizabeth Woodville in London hears what happened and panics. She grabs her youngest son, Richard, Duke of York, and runs to Westminster Abbey and claims sanctuary.
Sanctuary like in a church?
Exactly. In medieval England, if you made it to a church and claimed sanctuary, they legally couldn't arrest you. So Elizabeth barricades herself in Westminster Abbey with her younger son and basically says, "Come at me."
I kind of respect that.
It's actually smart, except she can't stay there forever. And meanwhile, Richard is in London with her other son consolidating power. He's calling Parliament. He's rounding up Woodville supporters. And then in mid-June, a priest named Dr. Ralph Shaw gives a sermon at St. Paul's Cathedral.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And in this sermon, Dr. Shaw drops a bombshell. He claims that Edward IV's marriage to Elizabeth Woodville was never valid.
What?
He says Edward was already pre-contracted to marry someone else, a woman named Eleanor Butler. And because of that pre-contract, his marriage to Elizabeth Woodville was bigamy, which means their children are illegitimate, which means young Edward and young Richard aren't actually in line for the throne.
That is the most medieval thing I've ever heard.
It's incredibly convenient.
It's insane. You can't just wreck on a marriage 20 years later.
Well, they did. Parliament backed it up. They passed something called Titulus Regius, official title declaring Edward IV's kids illegitimate.
So let me get this straight. Richard's nephews suddenly aren't legitimate heirs, which means Richard is next in line.
Correct.
And Parliament just goes along with this?
They do. June 26, 1483, Richard is proclaimed King Richard III.
A month after his brother died.
Yep.
And his 12-year-old nephew, who was supposed to be king, is locked in the tower.
Yep.
Mike, this looks really bad.
It does look bad, but here's the thing. We don't actually know if Richard planned this. Some historians think he genuinely believed the pre-contract story, that Elizabeth Woodville's marriage was invalid, that he wasn't trying to steal the throne, he was trying to save England from a constitutional crisis.
Do you believe that?
I think it's possible. Richard had been loyal to Edward his whole life. Why would he suddenly turn?
Because he could be king.
Maybe. Or maybe he thought the Woodvilles were dangerous, that they'd destroy the realm. Medieval politics were complicated.
What we do know is 2 kids are about to disappear.
We're getting there. So Richard is king, young Edward is in the tower, and then Elizabeth Woodville in Sanctuary gets convinced/threatened into handing over her younger son.
The 9-year-old?
The 9-year-old. Richard, Duke of York. He's brought to the tower to join his brother. Officially, it's so they can be together, so Edward won't be lonely.
And unofficially?
Unofficially, both heirs to the throne are now in one place under Richard's control.
This is like a horror movie.
It kind of is. So summer 1483, both boys are in the tower. They're seen playing in the gardens. People visit them. Everything seems normal. And then
they disappear.
Slowly, at first. Eyewitness accounts say they were seen less and less frequently, playing in the Tower Gardens less. Then not at all. By autumn 1483, no one sees them anymore. No announcement, no explanation, just gone.
That's terrifying.
And it's where this whole 500-year mystery begins.
Okay, so obviously Richard did it.
Hold on. Let's talk about what happened next. Because almost immediately people start whispering, where are the princes? What happened to the princes? And the whispers turn into rumours. And the rumours turn into open accusations.
Against Richard.
Against Richard. By 1484, less than a year later, people are openly saying he murdered them. There's even a rebellion. A guy named Henry Stafford, Duke of Buckingham, who actually helped Richard become king, suddenly turns against him.
Why?
Great question. Some say Buckingham was horrified by the boys' deaths. Some say he wanted the throne for himself. Some say he was working with Henry Tudor, who's been in exile in France, plotting to take the throne.
So many suspects.
So many suspects. Point is, Buckingham rebels. Richard crushes the rebellion, executes Buckingham, but the rumours don't stop because Richard never produces the boys, never explains what happened to them, never says anything.
Which makes him look super guilty.
It really does. Okay, so let's play devil's advocate. Maybe Richard didn't kill them.
Oh, here we go.
No, seriously, let's look at other suspects. because there are several credible theories that don't involve Richard ordering their deaths.
I'm listening.
Theory 1, Buckingham did it. He had access to the tower. He was ambitious. Maybe he killed them without Richard's knowledge, either to frame Richard or to eliminate rivals for the throne, since Buckingham himself had distant royal blood.
Did he want to be king?
Maybe. And here's the thing. Buckingham turns on Richard very suddenly, very violently. Some historians think it's because Richard found out what Buckingham did and Buckingham panicked and rebelled.
That seems like a stretch.
It is a stretch, but it's possible. We know Buckingham had opportunity. We know he had motive. We know something made him turn on Richard after helping him seize power.
Okay, who else?
Suspect number 2, Henry Tudor.
Wait, the guy who becomes Henry VII?
That guy. He's in France. He's gathering support to invade England. And here's the thing. As long as the princes are alive, they have a better claim to the throne than he does.
So he had them killed?
Maybe the theory goes like this. Henry needed them dead. So maybe he had agents in England. Maybe he had them killed before he even invaded. And then when he wins at Bosworth Field and becomes king, he blames it all on Richard.
That's diabolical.
It's politics. And here's what's weird. When Henry becomes king, he doesn't investigate what happened to the princes at all. He never talks about them. He marries their older sister Elizabeth of York to unite the families. But her brothers, never mentions them.
Because he knows what happened to them.
Maybe. Or maybe it was politically inconvenient.
Or maybe he did it.
Or maybe he did it.
Okay, any other suspects?
We're just getting started. Suspect number 3, Margaret Beaufort.
Who's that?
Henry Tudor's mother, one of the most politically savvy people in medieval England, absolutely determined to see her son become king. She had connections everywhere, including inside Richard's court.
So she ordered it?
Some people think so. She wanted to clear the path for her son, and after Henry wins, she becomes Lady the King's mother, basically co-ruling England with him.
This is Game of Thrones.
It literally is Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin based his books on the Wars of the Roses. This is the source material. This is the real version.
So everyone's a suspect.
Everyone with ambition is a suspect. Richard, Buckingham, Henry Tudor, Margaret Beaufort. Take your pick.
But here's my question. If someone else did it, why didn't Richard just say that?
And that's the $1 million question. Or I guess the £1 million question. Why did Richard never address it?
Because he did it.
Maybe. Or maybe he couldn't prove who did it. Or maybe he was protecting someone. Or maybe the boys weren't actually dead yet and he was keeping them hidden. Or maybe he was just really bad at medieval PR.
Those are a lot of maybes.
That's why this is unsolved. Okay, so let's talk about evidence. Real evidence, not speculation.
Please. Facts. I need facts.
Fact 1, the boys existed. Edward V, born 1470. Richard, Duke of York, born 1473. Real kids, in the tower, multiple witnesses.
Okay.
Fact 2, they disappeared summer 1483. Eyewitnesses confirmed they were seen less and less. By autumn, nobody saw them.
Fact 3.
Fact 3, Richard never explained it. Not publicly, not privately, as far as we know. He just never addressed it, which is weird, no matter how you look at it.
Super weird.
And then we get to the bones.
Oh, right, the bones.
So fast forward to 1674, almost 200 years later. Workers are renovating the Tower of London, specifically a staircase, and they find a wooden chest buried about 10 feet deep. And inside are the skeletons of 2 children.
Oh my God.
King Charles II hears about this and goes, yep, those are definitely the princes. Has them reburied in Westminster Abbey in a fancy marble urn designed by Christopher Wren. Done. Mystery solved.
Except
we don't actually know if those are the princes.
what?
The bones were examined briefly in the 1700s, then again in 1933 by a couple of doctors. Both times they concluded probably 2 boys, probably around the right age, but the science was super limited.
So DNA test them.
Can't.
Why not?
The royal family won't allow it. The bones are in Westminster Abbey. The Church of England considers them consecrated remains. Multiple requests for DNA testing have been denied.
That's suspicious.
Or it's respectful of the dead, depending on your perspective.
Mike, if those bones could prove what happened, wouldn't you want to know?
I would want to know. A lot of people would want to know. But the royal family has said no. So we don't know. We might never know.
This is so frustrating.
Welcome to Unsolved Mysteries. But here's what we do know about the bones. The 1933 examination found they were probably 2 boys. One around 10 to 13, one around 7 to 11, which roughly matches Edward and Richard.
Roughly.
Roughly. There were no obvious signs of violence. no broken bones, no stab wounds, which means if they were murdered, it was probably smothering or poisoning, something that doesn't leave marks.
So they could be the princes.
They could be. Or they could be two other kids who died in the tower over the centuries it was used. Or they could be random plague victims. We don't know.
I hate this.
Everyone hates this. Okay, so let's talk about the most interesting theory, the escape theory.
Finally, the fun theory.
The theory is that the boys didn't die, that someone loyal to them smuggled them out of the tower.
How?
Great question. There are accounts of a priest who had access to the princes. Maybe he helped. There's a legend about a bricklayer who helped them dig a tunnel. There are stories about them being hidden in the countryside, raised under false names.
A tunnel from the Tower of London?
I didn't say it was a good theory. I said it was a theory.
That's not a theory. That's a Shawshank Redemption fan fiction.
Well, people have believed it for 500 years, so maybe it's a compelling fan fiction.
Okay, but seriously, if they escaped, why didn't they ever come back? Why didn't they reclaim the throne?
Maybe they were too scared. Maybe they died of natural causes later. Maybe they decided being royal wasn't worth it. Or maybe they did try to come back and got executed as pretenders.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. In the 1490s, two different guys showed up claiming to be Richard, Duke of York, the younger prince.
And
Henry VII executed both of them. One was Lambert Simnel, turned out to be the son of an organ maker. The other was Perkin Warbeck. He actually got pretty far, convinced European royalty he was the real deal. Almost started a war. Henry caught him and hanged him.
were either of them real?
Probably not. Most historians think they were imposters, coached by people who wanted to destabilise Henry. But Mike, here's my question. What if one of them was real? What if Richard, Duke of York, escaped and then got executed as a pretender because nobody believed him?
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
It's historical tragedy, and we'll never know if it's true.
Makes you think.
Okay, so we've talked about suspects. We've talked about evidence. Let's talk about propaganda, because this is where it gets really interesting.
Propaganda.
Propaganda. See, most of what we think we know about Richard III comes from sources written after he died, after Henry Tudor won, and Henry had a vested interest in making Richard look bad.
Because if Richard was legitimate, then Henry was a usurper.
Exactly. So the Tudor regime launched basically a 500-year smear campaign against Richard.
How?
Through historians, through the church, through art. The most famous example is Thomas More. He wrote The History of King Richard III, and he paints Richard as this deformed evil monster, hunchbacked, born with teeth, murdered his way to the throne, killed the princes in cold blood.
Wait, Richard wasn't actually a hunchback?
No. His skeleton was found in 2012 under a parking lot in Leicester.
I'm sorry, a parking lot?
A parking lot. Someone did ground-penetrating radar and found medieval remains under a parking garage, and it turned out to be Richard III. It's the most British archaeological discovery ever.
That's insane.
It's incredible. Anyway, they examined the skeleton. He had scoliosis, a curved spine, but not a hunchback like in the movies. More like one shoulder was higher than the other. Moderate spinal curvature that probably would have been noticeable but not debilitating.
Su Tudor, propaganda exaggerated it.
Tudor propaganda invented a lot of things. They made him deformed. Evil, a child murderer, because they needed him to be a monster.
And Shakespeare made it worse.
Shakespeare made it so much worse. Richard III, the play, is literally Tudor propaganda in blank verse. Now is the winter of our discontent. A horse, my kingdom for a horse. All of it brilliant writing. All of it historically questionable.
So maybe Richard wasn't evil.
Maybe he wasn't. He ruled for 2 years. By some accounts, he was a good king. He introduced legal reforms, bail, the right to fair trial. He promoted education. He was harsh, but so was everyone.
Except for the murdering children part.
Maybe. Or maybe he didn't. Or maybe he did, but felt he had no choice.
There's always a choice.
Is there... Imagine you're Richard, your brother just died, the Woodvilles are grabbing power, the realm is unstable, your nephews are legitimate threats to peace. Do you let them live and risk civil war, or do you eliminate the threat?
You let them live because they're children.
In an ideal world, yes. But this isn't an ideal world. This is medieval England. Power is everything. Mercy is weakness.
I refuse to accept that murdering kids is ever justified.
I'm not saying it's justified. I'm saying maybe Richard thought it was necessary. There's a difference.
Is there, though?
I don't know, Mark. That's the point. We don't know what Richard was thinking. We don't know if he did it. We don't know if he had a choice. All we know is 2 kids disappeared and he never explained it.
And 500 years later, we're still arguing about it.
And 500 years later, we're still arguing about it.
This is the most frustrating episode we've ever done.
Welcome to Unsolved Mysteries. It's all frustration all the time.
Okay, so let me ask you directly. What do you think happened?
You want my honest opinion?
Your honest opinion.
I think Richard probably ordered it. Not because he was evil, because he was scared. He just seized power. Half the country hated him. Those boys were threats. And I think he told himself it was necessary for England, for stability, and then he couldn't admit it because that would destroy everything.
And then Henry Tudor rewrote the story anyway.
And then Henry rewrote everything, made Richard the villain, made himself the hero, and the truth got buried.
What about the bones?
I think the bones are probably them. I think they should be DNA tested. And I think the royal family won't allow it because they're scared of what it might prove.
Like what?
Like maybe they're not the princes. Or maybe they are, but it raises questions about how they died. Or maybe there's some other secret buried in that DNA.
Royal secrets.
Royal secrets. It's all about control. Control of the narrative. Control of history.
I hate that we'll never know the truth.
That's history. It's full of things we'll never know.
So what's the point then? Why study history if we can't know the truth?
Because trying to know matters. Because questioning the official story matters. Because remembering that real people lived and died matters even if we don't know exactly how.
That's very philosophical.
Don't sound so surprised.
Usually just make sarcastic comments and lose your train of thought.
Hey, I contain multitudes.
Sure you do, buddy.
Okay, so let's bring this to now. Because here's why the princes in the tower still matter in 2025.
I'm ready.
It's about power. It's about legitimacy. It's about what happens when people in authority do terrible things and then the winners rewrite history.
Oh, we're going there.
We're absolutely going there. Think about how many times in history the official story turned out to be propaganda. How many villains were created by the people who defeated them.
Richard III being Exhibit A.
Richard is the perfect example. For 5 centuries, he was the ultimate villain. Then they found his skeleton under a parking lot and suddenly people started asking questions. Was he really evil? Or was he just on the losing side?
And if the Tudors lied about the hunchback, what else did they lie about?
Exactly. Maybe everything, maybe nothing, but we should question it.
So you're saying we can't trust any historical narrative?
I'm saying we should always question who's telling the story and why. History is an objective truth. It's the version that survived.
That's deeply unsettling.
It's reality. Think about modern politics. Think about how different sides tell completely different versions of the same events. Now imagine one side wins and gets to write the textbooks. That's what happened with Richard III.
Okay, but surely some things are just facts. 2 kids disappeared. That's a fact.
That is a fact. But everything else? Why they disappeared, how they died, who ordered it? That's interpretation, that's narrative, that's whoever had the best propaganda machine.
So what you're saying is the princes in the tower teach us to question authority.
I'm saying they teach us to question narratives, to look for whose interests are served by the official story, to remember that history is written by survivors, not by truth tellers.
That's actually really important.
It is important. Because right now, today, there are official stories being written. Stories about who's a hero and who's a villain. And 50 years from now, people will be questioning those stories the same way we question Richard III.
Which means we should question them now.
Which means we should question them now. Not cynically, not paranoid, but critically, thoughtfully. Always asking who benefits from this narrative.
And what's being left out.
And what's being left out. The princes in the tower matter because they show us how easily truth gets buried, how easily children become symbols, how easily people justify terrible things for the greater good.
And how the winners control what we remember.
And how the winners control what we remember.
So in a weird way, this 500-year-old mystery is more relevant than ever.
In a weird way, yes, because we're living in an era of competing narratives, of truth being disputed, of everyone having their own version of events. The princes in the tower are a reminder that this isn't new. People have been arguing about truth and power for centuries.
And we still don't have answers.
And we still don't have answers. But we keep asking questions. And that matters.
Okay, so final question. If you could solve this mystery, what would you want the answer to be?
You mean like best case scenario?
Best case scenario.
Best case scenario? They escaped. They got out of the tower. Someone helped them. They lived quiet lives somewhere. Got married. Had families. Died old.
You think that's possible?
I think it's unlikely, but I think it's possible. And I think if there's any universe where those kids got to just be kids and not pawns in a power struggle, that's the universe I want to believe in.
That's actually really sweet.
Don't tell anyone.
Your secret's safe with me. But realistically,
They probably died in the tower, probably smothered, probably on someone's orders. And whoever did it probably thought they were doing the right thing for England, for stability, for power.
and that's the tragedy.
That's the tragedy. Not just that they died, but that someone convinced themselves it was necessary, that their deaths were justified, that 2 children's lives mattered less than politics.
God, this is depressing.
History is often depressing, but remembering them isn't. Keeping their story alive, making sure people know their names. Edward and Richard, 2 boys who deserved better
And never got it.
and never got it.
The princes in the tower. 500 years later, and we're still wondering, still hoping, maybe they made it out.
Still questioning the official story, still refusing to let them be forgotten,
Even though we'll never know the truth.
especially because we'll never know the truth. Because not knowing means we have to keep asking, keep challenging authority, keep demanding answers even when answers are impossible.
That's the lesson.
That's the lesson.
Okay, I need something happy now.
Define happy.
Literally anything where children don't disappear mysteriously.
I'll see what I can do.
Please. I'm begging you. Next episode, something cheerful.
We could do the time medieval peasants had more vacation days than we do.
That's not cheerful. That's depressing for different reasons.
You're very hard to please.
I just want one episode where I don't end up existentially troubled.
Then you pick the wrong podcast.
Apparently,
History is existentially troubling. That's the whole point.
I thought the point was to learn from the past.
We learn by being troubled, by wrestling with hard questions, by accepting that sometimes there are no answers.
I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
The Princes in the Tower. Royal murder or royal escape?
Probably murder. Possibly escape. Definitely tragedy. Definitely unsolved.
That's the worst answer.
That's the only honest answer.
500 years. And the best we can say is probably maybe we don't know.
Welcome to history.
I'm getting a drink after this.
Make it 2.
This has been the Mike and Mark History Experience. I'm Mark.
I'm Mike. And remember, the truth is out there, but it's probably buried under a parking lot.
That's our show.
That's our show. Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time. Hopefully with something less soul-crushing.
No promises.
Of course not.
But seriously, Edward V and Richard, Duke of York, born 1470 and 1473, disappeared 1483. Whether they died in the tower or escaped into legend, we don't know, but we remember them. And maybe that's enough.
Maybe.
Maybe.